The Zephyrian fleet hung motionless in the void, their sleek, crystalline vessels arranged in perfect battle formation. Admiral Vextar watched the tactical display with satisfaction as his forces surrounded the desperate Calorian defenders. The mineral-rich system of Alterus Prime would soon belong to the Zephyrian Empire, just like dozens of others had fallen before their superior technology and overwhelming numbers. "Admiral, the Calorian vessels are attempting to break through our left flank," reported Communications Officer Linka, her blue-scaled hands dancing across the control matrix. "Their shields are failing rapidly." Vextar's mandibles clicked in amusement. The Calorians were a proud warrior race, but their outdated weapons and armor were no match for Zephyrian plasma technology. Their ships looked more like flying fortresses than the elegant death machines of his empire. Still, he had to admire their determination to fight against impossible odds. "Let them come," Vextar commanded, his voice echoing through the bridge. "Order the 3rd Squadron to intercept. Make it quick, but not too quick. I want the other systems to hear about this battle. Fear is a valuable weapon." The space around Alterus Prime erupted into brilliant flashes of energy as the two fleets engaged. Zephyrian plasma beams sliced through Calorian armor plating like hot knives through ice. The larger Calorian vessels returned fire with their crude kinetic weapons, but the shots harmlessly splashed against advanced energy shields. Captain Mordak of the Calorian heavy cruiser Iron Fang gripped his command chair as another plasma blast rocked his ship. Sparks flew from overloaded control panels, and the acrid smell of burning electronics filled the air. His crew worked frantically to maintain systems that were failing one by one. "Captain, we've lost main engines. Auxiliary power is down to 30%, his chief engineer reported over the internal communications system. "The hull breach on Deck 7 is spreading faster than our repair teams can contain it." Mordak closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of command and the lives of his crew. The Calorian Defense Force had known this day would come eventually. The Zephyrian Empire had been expanding steadily across the galaxy for decades, absorbing or destroying every civilization in their path. Their technology was at least 50 years ahead of anything the younger races possessed. "All ships, this is Iron Fang Actual," Mordak broadcast to his remaining vessels. "Concentrate fire on the Zephyrian command ship. If we're going down, we take their admiral with us." The surviving Calorian vessels turned toward the massive Zephyrian dreadnought at the center of the enemy formation. Their weapons blazed desperately, but the concentrated fire barely scratched the behemoth's shields. It was like throwing rocks at a mountain. Aboard his flagship Stellar Dominion, Admiral Vextar watched the futile assault with cold calculation. The Calorians were brave. He would give them that. But bravery without power was just another word for suicide. He had seen it countless times before. From the insectoid Thrakari to the plant-based Verdani collective, they all fought with passion and died with honor. But they still died. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the asteroid field," Science Officer Kelmos announced, his voice tinged with confusion. "The patterns don't match any known technology in our databases." Vextar turned his attention to the sensor display. The asteroid field had been thoroughly scanned before the battle began. It contained nothing but rock and ice, certainly nothing that could generate the kind of energy signatures now appearing on their screens. "Could it be some kind of Calorian trap?" he asked, though he doubted it. The Calorians were straightforward fighters who preferred direct confrontation to clever tactics. "Negative, sir. The energy patterns are completely unknown. They don't match Calorian technology or any other known civilization in our databases." A chill ran down Vextar's spine. In his long military career, he had encountered many surprises, but nothing truly unknown. The galaxy had been thoroughly mapped and catalogued. Every major civilization was either part of the Zephyrian Empire or had been conquered by it. There should be nothing left that could surprise them. The energy readings suddenly spiked dramatically, causing alarms to sound throughout the bridge. Whatever was hiding in the asteroid field was powering up, and the energy output was beyond anything the Zephyrians had ever encountered. Captain Mordak noticed the sudden change in Zephyrian behavior. Their precise battle formation began to waver as ships turned sensors toward the asteroid field. For the first time since the battle began, uncertainty crept into their movements. "What are they looking at?" his tactical officer wondered aloud. "I don't know, but anything that worries the Zephyrians can't be all bad for us," Mordak replied grimly. "All ships, cease fire and hold position. Let's see what happens next." The space between the two fleets fell eerily quiet as both sides tried to understand what was occurring in the seemingly empty asteroid field. Sensors strained to penetrate the electromagnetic interference that seemed to be growing stronger by the moment. Then, without warning, reality seemed to ripple. The very fabric of space twisted and bent as something massive began to materialize. It wasn't emerging from behind the asteroids or rising from their surface. It was appearing from nowhere, as if stepping through an invisible doorway. The ship that uncloaked was unlike anything either the Zephyrians or Calorians had ever seen. It was roughly cylindrical, with clean geometric lines that spoke of advanced engineering. Strange markings covered its hull, symbols that belonged to no known language or civilization. Most unsettling of all, it gave off no energy signature that their sensors could identify, despite clearly being an active vessel. The mystery ship was massive, easily dwarfing even the Zephyrian dreadnought. Its arrival changed everything in an instant. Two warring fleets suddenly found themselves confronted with a third party whose capabilities and intentions were completely unknown. Admiral Vexatar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The ship had appeared without triggering a single early warning system. Their most advanced sensors had detected nothing until the moment it chose to reveal itself. Such cloaking technology was theoretically impossible, according to everything the Zephyrian Empire understood about physics. "Open a communication channel," he ordered, though his voice betrayed none of his inner turmoil. "Let's find out who these newcomers are and what they want." The response came immediately, but not through any communication system they recognized. The words simply appeared in everyone's mind, spoken in perfect Zephyrian, Calorian, and every other language present among the crews of both fleets. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the human vessel Prometheus. You will cease all hostile actions immediately." The word human sent shockwaves through both fleets. Every spacefaring civilization knew the legends, the ancient stories passed down through generations about a race that had vanished from the galaxy thousands of years ago. Most considered them myths, cautionary tales told to children about the dangers of unchecked ambition. According to the legends, humans had been among the first to achieve interstellar travel. They had explored the galaxy with insatiable curiosity, making contact with primitive civilizations and sharing knowledge freely. But then, without explanation, they had simply disappeared. Some said they had transcended physical existence. Others claimed they had retreated to another dimension. A few whispered that they had been destroyed by their own creations. Admiral Vextar felt his certainty crumbling as he processed this revelation. If the vessel truly was human, then everything the Zephyrian Empire believed about galactic history was wrong. The implications were staggering. "Impossible," he whispered. Then louder, "Open a visual channel. I want to see these alleged humans for myself." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the bridge of the human vessel. The beings standing there looked remarkably ordinary compared to the exotic appearances of most galactic species. They had no scales, mandibles, or unusual features. Their skin was a warm brown color, and they wore simple uniforms that bore no resemblance to the elaborate military dress of other civilizations. Captain Sarah Chen stepped forward, her dark hair tied back in a practical style. Her eyes held a depth of experience that seemed impossible for someone so young-looking. Behind her, the bridge was a marvel of understated technology, with smooth surfaces and holographic displays that made even Zephyrian equipment look primitive. "I am Captain Chen," she said, her voice calm and authoritative. "We have been observing this conflict from concealment. The unprovoked aggression against the Calorian people ends now." Vextar's mandibles clicked in indignation. "You dare interfere in the affairs of the Zephyrian Empire? We are the dominant power in this galaxy. These primitives attacked our expansion forces first." Chen's expression remained neutral, but something cold flickered in her eyes. "Your expansion forces entered Calorian space without permission and demanded surrender. That is not an attack, Admiral. That is self-defense." Captain Mordak could hardly believe what he was hearing. Not only had the mythical humans returned, but they were defending his people against the mighty Zephyrian Empire. His crew stared at their screens in wonder, watching beings they had thought were legends made real. "Captain Chen," Mordak broadcast, "this is Captain Mordak of the Calorian Defense Force. We are honored by your intervention, but you should know that the Zephyrians possess weapons that can destroy entire planets. Your single ship, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against their entire fleet." Chen smiled, and there was something unsettling about the expression. "Captain Mordak, your concern is appreciated. However, you may want to check your sensor readings." Both fleets immediately turned their instruments toward the space around them. What they discovered defied all logic and tactical doctrine. The human ship had not come alone. Dozens of identical vessels were materializing throughout the system, their cloaking devices deactivating in perfect synchronization. Within moments, the Zephyrian fleet found itself completely surrounded. Admiral Vextar felt ice form in his veins as he realized the tactical situation. His forces were outnumbered 3-1 by ships of unknown capability that had approached completely undetected. Even worse, the human vessels had positioned themselves with mathematical precision to create overlapping fields of fire that would make any escape attempt suicidal. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy. Nothing should be able to approach undetected." "Your sensors are indeed impressive for this time period," Chen acknowledged. "But human technology has had several thousand years to develop since we last made contact with galactic civilization. We have learned much during our absence." Science Officer Kelmos was frantically analyzing the new ships, his instruments straining to penetrate their mysterious properties. What he found made no sense according to established physics. "Admiral, I'm reading impossible energy signatures from these vessels. Their power output exceeds our theoretical maximums, and their hull composition appears to shift between different materials." "Impossible," Vextar repeated, but the word was losing its meaning. Everything about this encounter was impossible. Chen gestured to someone off-screen, and suddenly, the space around the human fleet began to change. Stars that had been visible moments before started to dim and disappear, replaced by swirling patterns of energy that hurt to look at directly. Reality itself seemed to be bending around the human vessels. "What you are witnessing," Chen explained, "is controlled manipulation of space-time. We have learned to work with the fundamental forces of the universe rather than against them. Your weapons operate by exciting matter into higher energy states. Ours work by temporarily altering the physical constants that govern how matter behaves." To demonstrate her point, Chen nodded to her weapons officer. A beam of pale blue light emerged from the Prometheus, but instead of striking a target, it simply touched one of the smaller asteroids in the field. The rock didn't explode or vaporize. Instead, it began to change. its molecular structure rearranging itself until it had become something that looked like crystallized light. The display was clearly a warning, but it was unlike any threat the Zephyrians had ever encountered. This wasn't superior firepower or better armor. This was science so advanced that it resembled magic. Captain Mordak watched in awe as the human demonstration unfolded. His people had always prided themselves on their understanding of physics and engineering. But what he was witnessing operated on principles that seemed to transcend natural law. "The legends spoke of human knowledge," he broadcast to his crew. "But I never imagined anything like this. They haven't just advanced their technology. They've advanced beyond the need for conventional technology." Admiral Vextar realized that his entire understanding of power and dominance had become obsolete in a matter of minutes. The Zephyrian Empire had built its strength on superior weapons and tactics, but those advantages meant nothing against beings who could rewrite the rules of physics itself. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely containing his fury and fear. Chen's expression softened slightly. "We want what we have always wanted, Admiral. Peace and cooperation among the peoples of the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire's path of conquest has disrupted the natural development of dozens of civilizations. This ends today." "And if we refuse?" Vextar challenged, though he already knew he was in no position to negotiate. "Then you will discover why humans disappeared from the galaxy," Chen replied quietly. "We did not flee, Admiral. We retreated to avoid having to use our full capabilities against younger races, but our patience with aggressive expansion has reached its limit." The bridge of the stellar dominion fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. The humans had not been destroyed or driven away. They had voluntarily withdrawn to give other species room to grow, monitoring from the shadows and intervening only when necessary. Now they had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Vexitar stared at the tactical display, showing his fleet completely encircled by human vessels. His tactical training screamed at him to fight, to maintain the honor of the Zephyrian Empire, even in defeat. But his survival instincts recognized that this was not a battle that could be won through conventional means. "Admiral," Communications Officer Linka whispered, "I'm receiving priority transmissions from High Command. They're demanding immediate updates on the situation." Vextar almost laughed at the irony. How could he possibly explain to the Empire's leadership that everything they believed about galactic dominance had just been proven wrong by a race of myths and legends? "Tell High Command that we have encountered an unknown force of significant capability," he ordered. "Request immediate reinforcements from the 4th and 7th Fleets." "Sir, with respect, I don't think more ships will help us here," Science Officer Kelmos interjected, his voice trembling. "I've been analyzing the energy patterns from the human vessels. Each ship is generating more power than our entire fleet combined. Their smallest escort vessel could probably destroy our dreadnought without taking damage." Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge once again, though her lips weren't moving on the visual display. The direct neural communication was deeply unsettling to species that relied on traditional audio transmission. "Admiral Vextar, we're aware of your communication with Zephyrian High Command. We strongly advise against escalating this situation. Your reinforcements would only result in more lives being unnecessarily lost." The casual admission that they were monitoring Zephyrian military communications sent another chill through the bridge crew. If humans could intercept their most secure channels so easily, then no military secret in the galaxy was safe from them. "How long have you been watching us?" Vextar demanded. "Since your empire began its expansion approximately 73 years ago," Chen replied. "We had hoped that younger civilizations would eventually find peaceful solutions to their territorial disputes. Unfortunately, the Zephyrian Empire has shown no interest in diplomacy or coexistence." Captain Mordak listened to the exchange while trying to process the magnitude of what was happening. The humans had been monitoring galactic politics for decades without anyone knowing they still existed. They possessed technology that made the most advanced civilizations look primitive. Most importantly, they seemed genuinely committed to protecting weaker species from aggressive expansion. "Captain Chen," Mordak broadcast, "what happens now? Will you help us rebuild what the Zephyrians have destroyed?" Chen turned toward the Calorian fleet, her expression thoughtful. "Captain Mordak, humanity believes in self-determination. We will not conquer or rule, but we will share knowledge and technology with those who demonstrate wisdom and peaceful intentions. Your people's resistance to unprovoked aggression shows great character." Admiral Vextar felt a surge of desperate anger. The idea that his empire, built through superior strength and tactical brilliance, could be dismantled by beings who claim to value peace over power was intolerable. "You speak of peace while threatening us with overwhelming force," he accused. "How are you different from any other conqueror?" Chen's eyes grew sad, and for the first time Vextar saw the weight of ages in her expression. "Because, Admiral, we have been where you are now. Humanity once believed that strength justified dominance. We conquered and expanded until we controlled most of the galaxy. We thought ourselves superior to every other form of life we encountered." She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried the pain of ancient regret. "Then we discovered what true superiority looked like. We encountered beings so far beyond us that we couldn't even comprehend their existence. They could have destroyed us effortlessly, but instead they chose to teach us. They showed us that real strength comes from lifting others up, not holding them down." The bridge of the stellar dominion fell silent as the implications of her words settled in. Humanity had not achieved their advanced capabilities through conquest or exploitation. They had been taught by beings even more powerful than themselves. "Those teachers left our galaxy long ago," Chen continued, "but they left us with a responsibility to guide younger species away from the mistakes we made, to prevent the suffering we caused during our own period of aggressive expansion." Science Officer Kelmos dared to ask the question that everyone was thinking. "What happened to the civilizations you conquered when you were like us?" Chen's expression grew even more pained. "Many were destroyed before we learned wisdom. Others were so damaged that they never recovered. A few survived and eventually forgave us, but the guilt of those early centuries weighs heavily on our collective consciousness." Captain Mordak felt a profound shift in his understanding of the situation. The humans weren't acting as saviors or conquerors. They were trying to prevent other species from repeating their own historical mistakes. "Admiral Vextar," Chen addressed the Zephyrian commander directly, "your empire stands at a crossroads. You can continue on your current path and face the consequences of actions that we will not allow to succeed. Or you can choose to learn from our experience and find a better way forward." Vextar's mandibles clicked in confusion and frustration. "What are you proposing?" "Complete withdrawal from all non-Zephyrian systems within 1 standard year," Chen replied without hesitation. "Reparations to be paid to displaced populations. Most importantly, the establishment of a new governmental structure that prioritizes cooperation over conquest." "That would mean the end of the Empire as we know it," Vextar protested. "Yes," Chen agreed simply. "Just as our encounter with advanced beings meant the end of human expansion. Change is never easy, but it is sometimes necessary for survival." Admiral Vextar found himself facing an impossible choice. Refuse and face certain destruction at the hands of beings whose capabilities were beyond comprehension. Accept and watch everything his people had built crumble into nothing. "I need time to consult with High Command," he said finally. "You have 72 hours," Chen replied. After that, we will begin implementing changes ourselves. I assure you that our methods will be less gentle than anything you might arrange voluntarily." As if to emphasize her point, the space around the human fleet began to shimmer again. This time, instead of stars disappearing, new ones appeared. Entire solar systems materialized in the void, complete with planets and orbital mechanics. After a few moments, they faded away, leaving only empty space. "A demonstration of stellar engineering capabilities," Chen explained casually. "We can create or destroy solar systems at will. Your choice, Admiral, is whether you prefer transformation or replacement." The transmission ended, leaving both fleets in stunned silence. The Zephyrians faced the collapse of everything they had believed about their place in the galaxy. The Calorians struggled to comprehend that they had been saved by beings whose power defied imagination. Captain Mordak was the first to break the silence. "All ships, stand down to minimal power. Prepare to receive humanitarian aid from our human allies." Admiral Vextar stared at the tactical display for a long time before giving his own orders. "All ships, maintain defensive positions, but do not target the human vessels. Open a secure channel to High Command. Tell them we have a lot to discuss." As the two fleets settled into an uneasy truce, Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and gazed out at the stars. The burden of advancing civilization was never easy, but it was a responsibility that humanity had accepted long ago. Today, another step had been taken toward a galaxy where strength served wisdom rather than ambition. The age of human isolation was ending. The galaxy would learn to grow up one way or another.